Marsha Stephanie Blake, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It means so much. I am such a big fan of yours, and I say this with the utmost sincerity, is like the beautiful thing about being an actor and watching another actor succeed is it not only instills hope, but it's the best way I can put it is like it's like watching justice prevail. And I discovered you in Orange is the New Black, and then just like as I kind of mentioned to you off air, I have a penchant for actors and following their careers, and just like watching you work has been such a gift. And I went to the premiere of Luce, and what you did in that film
in New York, really?
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah,
Wait, did I meet you? Why do I feel like did I meet you that night?
No, but I mean, Kelvin did the show, and maybe you saw his episode.
Oh, maybe I saw Kelvin's episode. Yeah,
you were at the Tribeca premiere, right?
Oh, I definitely was there. Yep.
That woman, I want to murder to this day. Like whoever did that interview.
My God, the moderator.
What a fucking idiot! Who does that? I talked to Kelvin about this.
Okay, so oh my gosh, that was so traumatic that ever since I have apprehensively done, panels and just like, okay, what are we going to get? Usually a moderator is so softball questions, right? Just like nothing.
Yeah.
And she came with an agenda.
Yeah, and working out her own issues.
It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I talk about that all the time with people because no one believes me. No one believes me that a moderator went rogue. And I'm like, no, it really happened. Because
me and my dad were front row. And we were like, oh my God. We were all like, I was this close to just hopping on stage and stealing the mic from her. But I was worried I would get banned.
The crowd started chanting. I've never been in a movie panel discussion. And the crowd starts chanting like, let the crowd ask questions.
Yeah.
You're crazy. Or whatever they were chanting. I was like, what is happening?
I have a friend who works at Cinetic, and I texted her. I was like, you need to get someone out of here now to stop it. But
drag her out. I know. It was, but you know what? Now we have a story to tell because, never before, never since. I don't know what that was.
Scared, awkward experience. But like I said, you're one of the greatest actresses in the world, and I say that with sincerity.
Who are you, Ryan? Why aren't you one of my best friends? What's happening right now?
Because I say this with sincerity. Is like it's a recurring theme on this podcast, and we also spoke off air about our mutual friend Glenn Fleshler. And there's a difference between good acting and great acting. And good actors are the actors that just, hey, no judgment. They can play their personality. They can do that for a living. And the great actors are the actors that make such distinct and nuanced choices where no other actress or actor in the world could play that role. Moreover, what they do with the character isn't on the page. And you are one of those actresses.
Oh, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for having us. I will see you guys later. But I feel like anything after this is going to be downhill.
But, we're here to talk about I'm Your Woman and everything else. But before we dig into work, can we start at the beginning? You grew up in Jamaica and then moved to the U.S., right?
I sort of grew up in Jamaica. I mean, I came when I was 10, so I wasn't that grown. My parents would definitely say I was not grown when I got to the U.S. Yeah.
Do you have memories there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course. You know what's interesting? I just went back. My dad passed away, unfortunately, in January.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Before the whole world went to hell. Thank you. But I went back. I'd been back before a couple of, several times over the years. But I hadn't been back in about 10 years. And I finally went back. And I realized all my dreams, it's crazy how much information from your childhood you store and how it really informs the rest of your life. Because I realized all my dreams really were about my childhood home. Like if I dreamt that I was in a house, it wasn't any house I'd lived in America. Oh, my light keeps going out.
It's okay.
It was always my childhood home. And like the familiarity of just like the grass on the ground was familiar to me still, and the the stones, nothing in Jamaica changes is really what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
like the stones in the driveway, in my dad's driveway, they were all the same. So like that I grew up with. The rooms, my dad was not one for renovating a house or like, you know, updating a house. So the rooms were the exact same. The rooms I grew up in and slept in and played in, and our tree in the front yard, like everything. And I realized, oh, wow, all my dreams are this house.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, it must obviously manifest in your brain as a very positive and nurturing environment, which is wonderful, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but it's like nowhere else has been home except for that house. I think that's weird because I didn't think about it till I went back.
That's
like,
so fascinating.
I've
Wait,
lived in other houses, but maybe this is my.
Your father lived there till he passed?
No, he was in America. He came to America. Right. So my dad moved back to Jamaica to retire, to answer your question. And so he was there and he wanted to die there. He was ill and he knew he was probably going to go soon. And so he had come back to America for treatment to stay with my sister, who's a doctor. She was overseeing his treatment. And then when it kind of seemed, you know, the writing was on the wall kind of thing, he definitely said he wanted to go home and dying in his house and around his, you know, his friends, his people, his high school friends. They would come visit him every day when he was ill. Yeah, they were hilarious. But yeah, they'd like see him all the time. And that's how he died peacefully, you know, at home.
Rest in peace. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, talk to me about the artistry bug? Were your parents artists at all?
No.
Oh.
Although, fun fact, my dad was in a film when he was a child, and we think it was a James Bond film. We can't find his name because I don't know that he was a named character. He was like a little boy who fell out of a tree. Wow. In some film that's shot in Jamaica when he was about 13. And listen to this craziness, Ryan. So, my aunt told me this just recently when he passed away. She said they offered him, he like had a nice part in this movie, whatever, they wanted him. And they offered him a car for payment.
No way.
A car. He was 13. So my foolish dad said, no, thank you, and took a bicycle.
Oh my God.
You know his father wanted to beat his ass. I was like, what? Like, he's a kid. So they offer him a car, and he's like, I don't drive. I don't want a car. Can I have a bike? And so he took a bike. You know, I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine what Grandpa thought when he came home and he was like, I got this bike. They offered me a car. But I told them I want. Can you imagine?
You got to love the innocence of that, though. You know, the purity of youth.
I feel like those grown-ups are horrible because they should have been like, no. Take the car.
Yeah, that is true.
Your dad can sell the car if he wants and buy you a bike, but take the car. But no, they were like,
for your college.
You want a bike? Here you go. Here's a bike.
Amazing.
Shady.
And
so, yes.
What about your mother? What did she do?
My mother's a nurse, but she was never, I mean, maybe she would have been. My parents, like my dad went into science, and my mom, her education was stymied right around, probably when she was around, right about to enter what would have been high school, maybe.
Yeah.
Although high school in Jamaica kind of starts at 6th grade. It's weird. But she never got a full, complete education. And maybe she would have become a writer or something artistic, but she didn't get a chance to really do that growing up. And so she ended up coming to America before we did. She got our papers, green cards for us so we could come. And then she was basically a nanny, then a nurse.
Wow.
And then she'd been a nurse for, forever.
What state did you guys reside in?
New York.
New York?
We moved to Jamaica, New York, right?
Wow.
That's right.
Jamaica to Jamaica.
Jamaicans go right to Jamaica.
That's amazing.
In Jamaica. My aunt was living there. My mom she moved to London first when she left Jamaica, moved to London, and then she moved to New York. Had a bunch of aunts who lived in Jamaica, or actually one in Brooklyn, one in Jamaica Queens. She moved to Queens to live near my aunt. But she was mostly like a live-in nanny for, most of the 5 years that she was here by herself. She was like a live-in nanny trying to make money
how hard that is. It's such a brutal grind.
Oh man, it's that immigrant story that it's very familiar to immigrants, but for some reason people think immigrants are coming here to do nefarious things. And it's like, no, no, no.
Well,
Most
it's because
immigrants
we have
come,
a
they work here.
racist, kleptomaniac, authoritarian scumbag piece of shit.
Kleptomaniac, I never heard that one, but I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you called him a kleptomaniac.
The things I would do.
He steals souls.
Yeah, but let's keep it inspiring. So
Please.
Talk to me about that transition for you, Marsha. Was that hard going from Jamaica, literal Jamaica, to Jamaica Queens?
You know, it wasn't, because the truth is, where I grew up here in America was populated by immigrants, and definitely Caribbean, people from the Caribbean. They were my teachers. They were my classmates. My classmates had all either come over themselves or their parents had. Everyone I knew. I can't even think of one person who was just like, we've been in America forever. It was a community of immigrants from all over the place. The food we ate was still Jamaican food. It was just colder here. Really, that was the difference. It was cold. I didn't have my grandma, my grandpa, I didn't have my cousins, my close cousins that I'd grown up with. And in Jamaica, you spend, at least I did, I spent a significant amount of time with my cousins.
Oh.
We just saw each other all the time. Every vacation, we'd go spend all the vacation. And, I'd spend the whole summer at my aunt's house. They'd come to our house, whatever. So I missed that. But really, in terms of culture, the culture was not that much different. The expectations were the same for my family. Was like, you do well in school or else. And I think it might have been easier for me. I think I was a good age to come to a different country. Like, my sister had a little bit tougher time because she was 14. My brother and my sister above me, they were at 14 and 12. And I think maybe they had a little bit harder time because they established lives and friendships and maybe even relationships. I think my sister had a little boyfriend. You know what I mean? They had just more of a life.
An uprooting.
Yeah. I was like a little kid who, I would play with my cousins, play with my siblings, and then I'd go to school. So it wasn't that big a deal for me. I will say though, my accent was the one thing I was embarrassed about, because as soon as I got here, there was some little shit in the 5th grade who was making fun of the way I spoke, because that's what little shits do. And I was very much like, oh, I have to get rid of this thing very quickly.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use it to sort of make fun of me. And I'd been slightly bullied in Jamaica, but not really. So I never really experienced just feeling like an outsider. And so I think that kid, I can't even remember his name, but I think that.
Well, let's find him right now.
Yeah, let's find him.
In the comments, if you're 5th grade, you do Marsha Stephanie Blake.
I blocked
slide in my fucking DMs because I'm coming to you, baby. So.
I bet you if I ran into him, it would all, how you have sense memory, and as an actor, we just have more sense memory than normal. I can never remember people's faces, but I always remember how I feel about someone.
Oh,
and
the
minute
energy.
I run into them again, or I remember faces, but not names necessarily.
Yeah.
And I remember feelings. So I'm sure if I ran into him, I'd be like, oh, that's the fucking guy. That's him.
He's seen you work, and he's looked down
probably,
and been
probably.
I could have been her friend.
Me on Instagram, and I ignored him. I get a lot of messages on Instagram like, "How are you doing?" And I'm just whatever.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Bye. So he probably reached that asshole. Anyway,
so tell
me, that
me,
dude made fun of me, and so I got rid of my accent, or my version of getting rid of my accent very quickly.
Do you
other than that,
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm done.
do you feel like that, in itself, the accent is the first time you became aware of performativity and kind of acting, or where was the moment where?
That is a very interesting question. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I was always a bit of an actor. Definitely, I don't think anyone was surprised that I became an actor. I definitely don't think my dad was. I was always a little bit of a drama queen. I was moody as hell. but I also was, I like to play. Like I
Yeah.
would play. I remember, well, actually, when I moved to Jamaica, I had a cousin who lived. Oh no, sorry, that was my cousin in Jamaica. In Jamaica, I had a cousin who had come from England, and she was the same age I was. And so my dad sent me to go stay with her for like the whole summer. I spent like an
Yeah.
entire month in the summer with her. And she had this British accent, right? Which is like so amazing. Um, and by the end of the summer, I totally had a British accent. And because we would play dolls. I mean, we would wake up, get the dolls. She had these dolls. Like I didn't necessarily have a lot of toys in Jamaica, and also had siblings, so everything was shared. But she had come from England with like all these dolls, Barbies, freaking every Barbie you could think of, every color, every hairstyle, whatever.
Yeah.
She had all these Barbies, and so we would just wake up and we would run. I remember she had a Barbie suitcase, dude, which was crazy when you're like 8, 9 years old. Somebody with a suitcase full of Barbies. And we would just wake up. My aunt would give us food, we'd eat, and then we would run to the dolls and we would play all day. We didn't
Wow.
have TV. There was no device happening because we
Yeah.
didn't have it. So it was just playing dolls all day long. So we would make up little scenarios with these dolls in British accents. Well, hers was genuine, mine was fake. And we would do that all day long.
Yeah.
So by the end of the summer, I had a British accent.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I was always, and my dad was very free. I think because I was a third child, I think they were just tired by the time I came around. So by the time I came around, I was just a lot more free to be frivolous
Yeah.
and to be moody and to like have an attitude or just be crazy and do something a little bit like not what they expected. But I was also a good student. This fucking light, Ryan.
Oh,
I
it's
don't know
okay.
what the hell is
Don't
going on.
ignore it.
Yeah,
Ignore it.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So
So
academia
yeah,
was really important to you.
yes, because I mean I think again it's the immigrant thing, but it's also even when I was not an immigrant, when I was in Jamaica, you got good grades. Like that
Yeah.
was expected. You, I mean, you just better. And if you weren't top of your class, you had to be close to the top of your class. And there was no excuse. There were a lot of kids who had financial difficulties, or they
Yeah.
couldn't come to get to school as often because their parents like couldn't get them to school, or they didn't have shoes. We had none of those difficulties. Like my dad had a pretty good job. My mom was in America sending us stuff. So we had no excuse to not be good students. And that was
Yeah.
really the only thing we had to do. We had chores, but like compared to what I knew other kids had to do when they got home, like wash clothes. Like some
Yeah.
people had to make dinner, wash clothes, um, get their siblings ready or whatever. We had a housekeeper,
Wow.
which we didn't always. It wasn't consistent for the 5 years my mom was gone, but my dad always tried to have someone there to help us because we were still. I was 5. My sister was 9 when my mom left, right? So he
Yeah.
had 9, 9, 7, 5, 3. Those were the kids he had. So he had to have somebody there. So we always had someone come in to help us with washing and cooking.
Wow.
And so our responsibilities were like, you go to school and you are top of your class. I also had 2 siblings who were at the top of their class, and there was no way my
Yeah.
competitive ass was not about to be. I was so damn competitive. I was not about to be the one who was not top of her class. Okay,
Totally.
so yeah.
So at what point, or was it a singular moment, or was it a gradual process of when you found acting or it found you?
Oh, Ryan. I didn't act till I got to Dartmouth, honey. I think
So
you
you
think
in high
I
school
wasn't
theater
like a
didn't.
child actor. No, those were the
Oh.
crazy nerdy kids. Hell no.
I didn't fuck with those losers.
I fuck with those nerds. No, I was a nerd in another way. I was a science nerd. I was like
Yeah.
science and math. And I was like very nerdy. I went to a nerdy high school in New York. But we were like the cool nerdy kids because we
Yeah.
weren't trying to be in theater. But no, I wasn't. We did a senior sing, and I got to play a teacher, and I remember enjoying it, but there was no thought in my mind at the time that I
Yeah.
was going to be an actor. Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
My family was too like scholarly for me to go there. You know, we were too into, like, my dad was a scientist in Jamaica. My mom was a nurse. My sister was in medical school by the time I was in high school. There was no me being an actor. Yeah, that didn't happen until later. I got to Dartmouth. I did
That's
a
one of the
play.
greatest schools in the world. Let's not gloss over that. Was that your dream school?
I was just on the cover of the alumni magazine, so I feel like, should I tell
the truth?
The truth, or should I?
You know what? Well, the truth, this part will do for a bonus feature. So only people will spend money.
No. Because you said, what is it, my dream school? And I was just on the cover of the alumni magazine, so I feel like I should say,
so outstanding school. Like,
it's an amazing.
Yeah,
was it my dream school? No. I'll tell you how Dartmouth got me. I applied for early admission, and Dartmouth was the one school, listen to this craziness, it was a school that waived my fee.
For the application?
They waived my application fee.
Which those were like sometimes $150. You know?
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I wanted to apply to any school that would waive the fee, and a lot of schools wouldn't waive it, or they'd give me half a scholarship for, you know. Dartmouth was like, fee waived, and I was like, I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
And then I researched it, and it was my brother. My brother was at Cornell at the time, my older brother, and I remember him saying, like, there is no option. You have to go to an Ivy League school. Like, there was no. He was just like, let's not play around. Okay, you're either gonna come to Cornell or you're gonna go to another Ivy League school. And I don't know that I was that up on which schools were Ivy League. I started doing some research, and I saw that Dartmouth was like a smaller school. I'd gone to a huge high school. My high school has as many people as Dartmouth. Like,
wow.
My high school is like 5,000 people. Yeah, so I wanted to go to a small, I was like, God, I don't want to go to another giant school. Like, Cornell is so, you know, so big. And so I liked the idea that it was a smaller school. They waived my fee. I went to visit. What solidified it for me was I went to visit over the summer. I went to Perspectives Weekend, where the prospective students come in. And they paired me with a woman who is still one of my best friends to this day. Actually, they paired me with my really good friend, Zola Marchariki, who I talk about all the time because she's the one who got me into acting. They paired me with Zola, or no, maybe it was the other way around. They paired me with one of my best friends, and then she was busy that weekend, and I ended up with Zola. I ended up basically stealing a big sister, they called it, you know, big sister, big brother weekend. And I stole one of my friend's big sister, because my big sister like peaced out. And to this day, I talk about it all the time, how she like left me alone that weekend. We were really good friends. That was fine. Yeah. But she peaced out, and I end up with Zola, and I end up basically going to like rehearsals with Zola, and you know, seeing how she was operating. And
she was the theater major?
She wasn't. She was just kind of doing it for fun. She ended up going to Harvard Law. Zola is like, she's incredible. She is now fully in the business, but at the time she kind of was just, it was something she loved. And I was checking out, I think I went to rehearsals with her that weekend. I loved everyone there. I loved all the people of color, because it is really the weekend where the students of color like show you, like, this is what Dartmouth can be. I know it seems like it's a lot of white guys.
I know.
Actually, we're here too, and we need more of you to come. Like, keep coming. They totally tricked us. For me, that weekend, you would have thought Dartmouth was like a brown and black people's school based on that weekend. I remember going there and being like, oh, wait. It
felt like Howard University or something.
That was it. Yeah, that's what it felt like that weekend. They like totally pulled the wool over our eyes. We were like, oh my God. And there were parties, and it was just like everybody was playing hip hop. There was a DJ at the party. We had the best weekend. And then you get to school and you're like, oh wow, it's a lot of white frat boys, but okay. You know, but it was great. And those are still some of my best friends. And Zola was the one who started me acting.
At what point in like sophomore, freshman, senior, like at what point did you be like, wow, I love this?
I did my first play my freshman year, but I had one line. That was the play I did with Zola. Then I did, excuse me. My God,
it's okay.
We gotta edit that.
I've been gassy all day.
So I was in this, I started doing this acting class because of Zola, because I was taking all these science classes. I was on a pre-med track, and Zola was like, I was stressing out. I was stressing. She was like, come take this acting class with me. It should be really fun. You'll probably get an A. We're going to do a play. And I was like, oh, sweet, let's do it. And it was a fun class. I had a blast. I was still a freshman, but because I liked it so much, I was hanging out with Zola a lot. What
was your major?
I was a freshman. I didn't have a major yet.
Oh, you didn't?
I was just playing around, but I was pre-med. I was taking mostly science and math classes because I thought I was going to be a doctor, like my sister. I know, right?
My dad's a doctor.
Who's a doctor?
My dad.
Oh, your dad. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure. No pressure from you. Oh gosh, it's so funny. I definitely thought I was going to be a doctor, like most of my life. And then doing plays with Zola, she cast me in a play that she had written, and I did that, and I won this little award at Dartmouth for it. It was like the Best Actress Award.
Yeah, love that.
The Best Actress at Dartmouth.
Foresight of all the things to come.
No, it's still like one of my best memories, because I tied, and I had to share my Best Actress Award with another woman who ended up directing me in a play in New York years later. It all came around. Yeah, I know. She laughs about it now. She's a director now, not an actor.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I did plays with Zola, and then I just kept doing them, and eventually I was doing them so often that everything else was I wasn't doing so well at other things. I think they were falling by the wayside a little bit, my other classes. Not much, but more than normal. I
understand what you mean. Yeah,
like more than normal. I think I got a D in organic chemistry, and I was like, whoa. I've never gotten a D in my entire life.
I went to NYU undergrad acting, and I got an F in ballet, so it happens.
In ballet?
The guy was going so fast, I was like, I can't keep up with you, dude.
Oh no! At least I got my D in organic.
I know.
You'd be ashamed of yourself, Ryan. I get an F in ballet. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, that D kind of, I was like, all right, maybe I can't be a doctor like this. I'm not into this anymore, And I was spending so much time in the theater department and with those nerdy theater kids.
Yeah.
That I was like, all right, it's time that I make a decision.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think Zola was gone. I can't remember. She was 2 years ahead of me. But at that point, probably end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year, when I really had to declare a major.
Yeah.
I first was English because I was still in denial. And I was like, I'll be a writer.
Yeah.
So I was English major, and then I double majored in English and theater.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yup.
And
wrote 2 theses, did 2 thesis projects.
Wow. I love it. True.
I was an overachiever. Sometimes I think about how prolific I was in college. I'm like, what happened to that person? I am so lazy now.
Oh, I know. Me too. But so then talk to me. Post-grad Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Did you come back to New York, and what were you doing?
I came back to New York. I was doing a lot of off Broadway with some Dartmouth people.
So you gave it a go before going directly into grad school on your own.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. I tell people to do that because I remember the difference between the people in my grad school class who had done stuff and the people who
went from NYU to
right, who had gone like directly from undergrad to grad school, and the people who had like worked a little bit in the business to see that that's what they really wanted to do. The difference was really very, very clear.
Yeah, because they had life experience and they were humans.
Yeah, and they also knew that like they wanted to actually act and that it wasn't all fun and games. I think I had a couple of grad school classmates who I knew, or people in other classes ahead of me who I knew, I was like, they're not going to be actors once they leave grad school.
Yeah.
And I was right, because I was like, I don't know that they actually understand what it is. And then I spent a year and a half out doing off Broadway and like temping in New York and having a $3 budget a day. I remember my budget was $3 because I would buy a bagel for like 75 cents.
Wow. They're like 175 now. The bagel inflation in the city's insane.
The bagels went up. And then I buy like an orange juice box that was about like $1.79. I have a little bit of money left over. Oh, my budget was $3. And if I went over that budget, I would screw myself because I didn't get paid that much. I wasn't even paying rent. Like I was still living with my parents. So my friends who had to pay rent barely ate food. Like we didn't go out, we didn't eat. You know, there was no hanging out, there was no going to bars afterwards. Some of my Dartmouth friends.
What seems to be reoccurring, you're so committed, and I respect the fuck out of that, you know, because I think if most actors had 1/100th the commitment you had, they would find themselves succeeding more, you know, and that's what I love about you, because it's not easy to do, you know, like to commit to $3 a day. That's a coup.
No,
you know what I mean?
But what it did teach me, Ryan, is that I did not want to go back to that. I think there are a lot of people who romanticize the idea of being an actor and being like a starving artist,
like
and,
being the next Matt Damon and Ben Affleck or something, you know,
or just like struggle. They romanticize the struggle of it, and quite frankly, I was like, listen. I understand at a certain age, you should struggle. Like in your early 20s, just got out of college, you should struggle. It's only going to inform your work, your art, whatever you're doing, right? Do I want to be a starving artist my entire life? Hell no. So that's why I went to grad school, because I had done it. I had done it for 1.5 years here in New York. I had done the like living on $3, and I saw that without the proper education and guidance, that could be my life for the next 10 years. And I was like,
let alone we both love theater, and all the theater casting directors, they go to those pools of MFA, you know?
Exactly. And I saw that because I couldn't, there was like a door I couldn't get through because I didn't have the masters, right? Yeah. And so I wasn't Juilliard. I wasn't, you know, NYU.
Did you audition
Yale.
for the big three?
I auditioned for all the big ones. You know, I didn't audition for Juilliard because at the time, I just thought, I have a BA already. I'm not going to get another.
To be with 18-year-olds for 4 years.
And I didn't want to. And so I didn't. And I ended up interning briefly at Juilliard. And I remember the woman being like, you should have applied. This was after grad school. She was like, you should have applied to come here. And I was like, I didn't even think I could. Like, I just didn't. So I applied to NYU, Yale, UCSD. I ended up going to UCSD. They gave me a full scholarship.
Did you get offers or callbacks at the other ones?
I did. But UCSD was the one. I racked up such a bill at Dartmouth.
Yeah, like, me too at NYU.
Even though I was like a scholarship student, but I still had loans. It's like they paid my basic tuition was paid. Yeah. But I still had to eat, and my parents didn't want me to go to school and be working all the time. Yeah. So I had like a grant, and then I had student loans.
And the UC system is really good about, you know, working with.
This was I had loans from Dartmouth. So UC, so the first year they gave me a fellowship, because once you become a resident, then you get free college in California. So, but you have to establish residency for the first year. So the first year I got a fellowship to pay for that.
It's 3 years. My living expenses at UCSD, right?
It's like 2.5. It's
2.5.
Yeah, we graduate in March so that we can come back to New York and do
the showcase
in April. Yeah, but it's really 3 years. But I wanted to, I didn't want to rack up another, $100,000 in student loans from my grad school. So even though I would have loved to have gone to NYU or Yale, UCSD gave me a scholarship. And they were also, it was the top 3 schools at that point. It was NYU, Yale, UCSD. So I was like, well, it's not like I'm lowering my standards. I'm still going to a great school. And it was a free ride for the most part. I don't owe UCSD any money.
That's so beautiful.
I'm on the cover of the alumni magazine, and I still owe Dartmouth money.
Oh God, I know how it is, man. NYU still. I'll be honest right now for all the listeners. I'm $250,000 in the hole at NYU, and they have the audacity to call me like at least once a week asking for donations. Yeah, and I'm like, motherfucker, do you? And I just yell at them. They're like, I'm sorry.
Me too. Yeah. Oh. See, I feel like
it's criminal. Like, I bought a Lamborghini and I didn't know it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, who has even grown up people who've been working all their lives don't have a $250,000 debt? Like, that's ridiculous to have a college student. Yeah.
Well, and it's also like the whole world's so misinformed. You're told your whole life you got to go to a great college, and then you get into it, and then by the time it's over, you're like, well, I was an actor and I studied acting. I could have just gone to Strasbourg and spent 10 grand.
And,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
because
No,
I
it's true.
studied at Strasbourg, but
Yeah.
enough about me, about you.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I do think education is good.
Yeah.
And no disrespect again to my grad school, because I love my grad school, but it was also free.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many ways to learn now, especially you can take a class, you can take a class that you can actually afford and sort of do it. It might take you longer, but you do it over a period of time. You can take an on-camera. I didn't even get on-camera classes really at UCSD, so I still ended up having to take on-camera classes anyway.
Yeah.
But there's so many ways around it now. The advice I give to people now is like, you don't need to go to grad school.
Yeah,
you don't.
I agree. I think
you
changed.
do need to have a seriousness about the work, in which I do think some people develop in grad school. Like because they don't come off you. You can't be lazy in grad school. You're working from 7 a.m. till sometimes midnight.
Yeah.
And you're in rehearsal. You're always working. So that kind of discipline is great that grad school gives you. But I don't think anybody learns how to act in grad school. I think you come already with something, right? And all they do is teach you how to manage it. Like, can you manage this talent that you already have? Do you know what your talent is? Do you know that you're better at this thing than you are at this thing? Do you know that you're really intuitive? Do you know that you need a little bit more than, in this situation or whatever? So like, it can help you hone whatever that thing is, but I think most people come already with something.
And that's so beautiful.
But you can find that in an acting class.
Yeah.
Not a grad school, not necessarily a grad school situation.
I have to ask, because you're, 2 hours south of it. Was LA on your mind, or you knew you wanted to come back to New York?
It was in a way, but again, because I never wanted to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
My option was I could go to LA and starve. And I just started driving my last year at UCSD, but I wasn't like much of a driver. And I knew LA was all about driving. There were no Ubers back then.
And you didn't have your family there,
My family wasn't there. I knew I could come back to New York. I could go move into my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I had jobs because my dear, dear friends, now this is why you go to a fancy Ivy League school. My dear friends were in very nice jobs in New York. And they all were like, we can figure out a position here where we work for you to work.
That's amazing.
And so I came back and I was working with my friends that I'd made at Dartmouth, my big sisters really, who were like art directors and head of departments and blah, 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 blah. And I would just be their intern.
Wow. Love that. Savage.
Trust me, there's
great
so
friends.
many people who are responsible for my career. Like they joke about it all the time where they're like, your like thank you speech is gonna be so long. Because there's so many people supporting me.
You're gonna have it at the Golden Globes this year from your woman. I know it.
Oh, from your mouth. But to me, that is also necessary. You need the benefactor. I call them my benefactors. You need those people who believe in your talent so much that they will just hold you up in the craziest. I mean, there's no way I would have survived New York. I mean, first of all, I had my family, but I didn't necessarily want to live with my parents. I'm a grown up.
I get it.
And also my family lived so far out in Queens that I was trying to do the temping during the day, acting at night, and then I'd have to go travel 2 hours back home. And it just was not gonna work. I was exhausted. I was not getting any rest, and my everything was suffering. My work as a temp was suffering, and my work as an actor was suffering because I was just exhausted all the time.
Did you sign with a major or a smaller boutique one?
Agency?
Yeah.
I didn't even have an agent when I graduated grad school.
Glenn too. He said the same thing.
Did not have an agent. I got meetings, and then I can't even remember how I found my agent.
Did you ever do one-on-one or Actors Connection?
I think maybe that's how I found her, is I did like a one-on-one, because I don't think she was at my showcase.
Yeah.
I think I found her through one-on-one, and then I signed with her, but at the time I'd already booked. So my first job out of grad school was on Broadway.
Wow. Yeah, I know you have so many amazing credits.
I went to an open call. I tell actors all the time, I'm like, don't be, don't be precious. Go to the open call. I went to an open call for the Crucible on Broadway. They had already cast their main people, but they wanted understudies.
Yeah.
And I went in sort of blindly. I didn't know who was in it. My friends called me and they were like, hey, you should, my grad school friends called me and they were auditioning and they were like, hey, there's a part, there's Tituba. And I was like, oh, okay. What time do I have to be there? And they were like, well, the line gets long, so we probably have to get in line at 6 a.m. And I was in that line with my friends at 6 a.m. outside of the Equity building. Didn't have, at the time I did have an equity card. I did.
Oh,
I got
you
my
did?
equity card. I got my equity card.
At UCSD, because you guys do the conjunction at that theater, right?
At La Jolla Playhouse.
Yeah,
exactly.
La Jolla,
so I was one of the fortunate people in my class who got an equity card because my last name was Blake.
Yeah.
And the people that, like 4 of us got equity cards, and it was like, the people with the last name B and C got equity cards.
That's amazing.
I was like, thank God my last name is Blake. Anyway, so I got my equity card. I went to the open call, met with Daniel Swee, who's been a champion of mine since that day. And he had actually seen my showcase and he remembered me from my showcase.
Oh, that's so great.
And so we talked about that a little bit. And then, and I tell actors to do this too, we had such a nice little conversation and I did a whole monologue for him. And I wrote him a thank you note. At the time, I just mailed it. I think I found an address.
Postcard style.
I mailed it. Yeah, just a thank you note. Yeah. No headshot. I was just like, if he doesn't remember me, he doesn't remember me. But I am just going to thank him for like my first open call, making it so pleasant. And he made me feel so welcome. And I'm just going to say thank you because that was like one of my first experiences as a real actor in New York.
Yeah.
With the card. And you made it so easy for me, especially we'd been in line for 6 hours. And he was lovely. So I sent him a thank you card and he remembered me.
Wow.
I got a call back.
That's amazing.
And I went to the callback and the callback happened right after 9/11. It was literally, I think my callback was like 9/12.
Wow.
And the trains were all messed up and I was late to my callback.
I'm sure they understood.
I know. No, they did.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
It was one of those crazy weeks in New York where everybody was just so shell-shocked. And I had a lovely callback and I wrote another thank you note because at that point it was with, director and some of the producers and blah, 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 blah. And I just was like, I can't believe I even made it this far. This is, especially things are so crazy right now that I just having this to look forward to this week has really meant a lot to me. I mean, the couple of days before that, I'd walked home on 9/11. I'd walked home from Manhattan to Brooklyn, like through all the soot that was downtown. Remember how everybody got like I walked through all, and so I was just like, what I had that week was like, I have this callback for Lincoln Center for Broadway. I think I still didn't really understand. It was like Laura Linney and Liam Neeson, and it was this big deal.
Yeah.
I knew it was Broadway, but I didn't realize how big a deal it was. And I remember when Daniel Sweet called me, because I still didn't have an agent, he called me and he called me personally and he said, we want you to join our understudies and you'll get paid. I think at the time Broadway was like $12.75.
Yeah.
So I thought he meant $12.75 and $12.75 an hour. And in my mind,
but not bad.
Not bad. Like at that point, I was probably making $12 an hour as a team. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he was like, I guess it all comes to you because you don't have an agent. And then he was like, do you want me to call people for you? Do you want me to call agents for you? And at that time, I had already met with that lady. And I was like, I have a lady who might be interested. So, but he was like, but you don't, and he told me, he was like, you don't have to pay her because you did not get this job through her. He was like, he literally like led me.
Oh man, what a gentleman.
Dude, I'm telling you, I have so much love for this man. It's crazy. When I see him, I feel like I'm seeing like my uncle. I'm
Santa
like,
Claus.
I love him.
Yeah.
So he told me, and then he was like, you don't have to pay. And I was like, well, would I just have to, what's $12.75? How many hours a week? Does $12.75 an hour work out to? And he was like, no, it's not $12.75 an hour. It's $1,275 a week. And I was just like,
I'm rich.
I was like, bitch, pull up the damn chair. We going out, champagne.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I had been working as a temp. I think my biggest check up to that point was like $400.
Wow.
$1,275 a week.
That's so beautiful.
I was like, we are not gonna be no starving artists up in this, man.
I love it.
First job. And so after that, I signed with my first agent, and I kept. After that job, I went and did Shakespeare in the Park. I always happened on these jobs. Shakespeare in the Park was another one where I had worked with the director at UCSD. This is one of the good things about going to grad school is he had come to do a play with us at UCSD. And I had worked with him. I'd been his lead in Faust. Not Faust, I was Mephistopheles. Still one of my favorite roles to date. I got to play the devil. And I loved him. He loved me. We had such a great time. And I remember I saw that he was doing 12th Night in the Park. And I wrote him, again, my little writing. I wrote him a little note, dropped it off there, was like, hey, I'm in town. I'd love to audition, blah, blah, blah. And I auditioned, and I ended up again being in the cast, but in the park, it's all famous people. So I was understudying the part of Viola.
And do you feel like
my second job?
Amalgamation of the Lincoln Center and the park, that's when you have like Ron Howard and Al Pacino and those kind of people coming to those shows. Did that really start putting you on film and TV radars?
No. That took a while. I think what that does is it creates relationships, and it also exposes you to people who are doing those kinds of things. So you just, how you talked about how when you see someone else being successful, it gives you hope as an actor. When you see someone else winning. And I think one of the most important things for me was to always be around working actors. There was a point in my career, probably 5 years in, where I decided like I had to really sort of curate my friend list in a weird way. And this may seem cruel, but I realized I had a lot of actors around me who weren't acting, who weren't actively trying to act.
Yeah.
And they were complaining about it all the time.
Yeah.
And I felt like I am going like, and what we would do is we'd feed each other's misery, right? And I just felt like I am going to become, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. There's no end to this. I saw how unhappy these people were, and I was working a little bit more than everyone else, but that's because my ass would wake up at 5 in the morning and go line up on an open call line. And these were people who didn't feel like they were doing things like that, but they would complain about what they weren't getting. And, oh, you're getting this because, and you got that because you have an equity card. And I'm like, bullshit. I would have been on that line if I didn't have an equity card. They have a non-equity line.
Yeah, I know they do. Yeah.
So like, and I realized I couldn't, that those could not be my friend base, because they weren't, you should surround yourself with people
that instill hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the great thing about being on Broadway and being in the park is that I was around Laura Linney and Liam Neeson, and these people were constantly working top of their game. I would just sit there. I kept my mouth shut. I tell actors to do this all the time too. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to know if your ass ain't done nothing. Don't nobody want to know everything about your life.
Yeah.
Listen to other people. When you get on set, just be quiet. Listen. Yeah. So I would just be in the corner soaking shit up. Like I would listen to anyone. I'd watch anyone act. I would go to any rehearsal. I would go to every rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like what else am I gonna do? That's my job, right? So even if I wasn't called, I would be at the rehearsal watching. I'd watch scenes that my character wasn't in. I was understudying Tituba, but I was watching all the scenes. I was watching everyone work. I saw how everyone approached everything.
Did you get to go on?
I didn't get to go on. I did it. And I'm really good friends with her still. My overstudy, I called her. My overstudy, Patrice Johnson, was this amazing, badass little tiny Jamaican woman. It's like if someone made my twin, it would be her. And I remember one time she broke her finger on stage, and I thought maybe I would get to go on. That bitch went to the hospital, splintered her goddamn finger.
Savage.
Back on stage.
Wow, that's amazing.
I never got to go on, but I was fine. I did rehearsals with them and stuff. And when she was gone, I did rehearsal with them because she was gone like half a day. So I did rehearsal that day.
That's so beautiful. Well,
but also that cast was, I don't know, maybe it was Liam and the producer. I didn't feel like the understudies. I know some people like don't even know what their understudies look like, but we were a part of the cast. Like they included us in everything. So we were included all the cast stuff, any kind of activity, whatever. So I felt like, even though I didn't go on, I felt like I was a part of that cast. Very much so.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, so I don't make narrative upset. Let's skip ahead a little bit if that's okay. So
narrative is fine. I'm enjoying talking.
I'm enjoying it too, which I was just going to say, please, I want you to come back. But but so then tell me, what do you think was the thing that finally opened you up to film and TV? Was it Orange is the New Black, would you say?
Yes. I've been doing like it opened up in a real way.
Yeah.
I've been doing, guest stars, Law and Order. First of all,
co-star, guest star, reoccurring. You did that.
Yeah, but in New York, there wasn't even that many opportunities. It's only recently. People don't even realize how recent it is that like so much is happening in New York.
Yeah,
now.
well, the Oscars So White were 2017, right? So it's been 3 years.
There's but prior to, I would say 2013.
Yeah.
There was nothing in New York but the Law and Orders and maybe an occasional show here and there, but like this wasn't a movie and show town really.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a lot of, and also I was doing a lot of theater. I consistently worked in theater, so I wasn't like looking to get into film and TV. I have this wonderful Jen Houston who casts Orange is the New Black. She's one of those women, she's in New York, she goes and she sees plays a lot, thank God. And she finds a lot of her people in plays. And I think most of those Orange is the New Black women came out of plays she'd seen. So she'd seen me in that. And she called me in. I went in for the original season, didn't get the part, but she called me in like several times before I finally booked Birdie with her. And she was also really lovely because I remember I couldn't go to my callback because I had a baby. My youngest was a month and a half. Like she was just born, 2 months maybe. And I remember when they said, sometimes this stuff happens so quickly. She's like, you have a callback, it's today at 7. And I was like, I have 2 little kids. Like I can't I can't come at 7. I can't make it. And I was about to just, say no to my callback. And she was like, you know what? I totally understand. Do you think you could put yourself on tape? This is one of my first it might've been my first self-tape. Like, this is 2015.
Yeah, because that was kind of when they started, you know, so, right when the iPhone finally got to the place where it could. Yeah.
But I didn't even have an iPhone. I had a regular old camera that had a recording thing on it. No, in fact, I use an iPod. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
I think I used an iPod that you could record video on. It was the worst quality. I remember crying afterwards and being like, it's not going to work. It was horrible. I can't even see my face.
It's 1 megapixel.
I wish I could find it and pull it up, because if you saw this callback video, you would be like, girl, they must have really loved you in the first audition.
Yeah, she was an advocate.
And then and I had to talk to myself because the woman I called this woman who was a nanny of one of my daughter's friends. I called her and I was like, can you just watch the kids, like bring your kid over. We'll put them in a room to like play with each other. And then can you read these lines with me? I need a reader.
Yeah.
And she tried, but she was so horrible at it that I was like, this is not good. Like it's like she couldn't read. She was like, and then.
Oh, it's like staccato,
What?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. So I recorded myself on her phone.
Yeah.
And then as her, and then I talked to myself in the video. The conversation was with me. So that is my self-tape. It is the most bananas goddamn self-tape. I somehow booked
the job. That's so badass. I want to see it.
Could not believe it. Booked that job. And so that definitely, everybody in the industry watches Orange, and that definitely was my way into being considered for other things and all of that.
Beautiful.
And everyone on set would always be like, I just saw your season. It was just lovely.
Yeah, and then you got The Blacklist and some other New York shows.
Yeah.
So then
Blacklist, what's the one with Juliana Margulies? The Good
Oh,
Wife.
The Good Wife. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then I went out to LA to do Getting On, which was one of my favorite things. And yeah, it was just like, you know, so after that it was just they kept coming in. It was great, but it was definitely Orange that opened that door.
Well,
And I
obviously,
think it's opened the door for many people.
yeah. Obviously, though, the thing that I think, you know, brought you to the superstardom, and rightfully so, is when they see us.
Yes.
When you got that project,
Yeah.
tell me, like, did you feel, having been in New York and a New Yorker, like, did you feel scared to kind of dig into that tragedy, or would you know
Oh
where
no, I wasn't scared at all. I couldn't wait. I had been in New York when that shit went down, dude.
yeah,
You know,
so horrible.
I just come to New York really, and I remember how intense it was. I remember my parents talking to my brothers about like hanging out and not hanging out, going to the park, how they, like because that summer or the subsequent summers after that happened, where those boys were accused and then they were paraded in the news. That was
And
on.
then
Remember that
Trump
was
took the fucking ads out, like
yeah, and then he did the ads. And
yeah,
I remember, I mean, my family was all the way out in Queens, and this Manhattan was always like a different world to us.
yeah,
But I remember my family talking about that and being like, those boys did not do that shit.
yeah,
They're just trying to railroad those boys. And my family barely talked about stuff like that significant in front of us.
yeah,
But I remember hearing that because they had to talk to my brothers because it was like open season on young black men after that.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
they were calling them animals or whatever. So no. And when I found out Ava DuVernay was doing it and Oprah, I was like, no. Was I scared? Absolutely not. I was like, this is the story. This is how it needs to be told. Now we know the guys were innocent. First of all,
Yeah,
black people already knew, but
yeah.
now everybody knows they were innocent.
But not till 2014, and they,
And
you
not
know,
till 2014. Isn't that crazy?
it's
Can you
insane.
imagine living? Oh no, I
And
can't. I actually can't
Michael
imagine.
Bloomberg, that piece of shit, he didn't help. You know, he let them rot. So fuck you, Michael Bloomberg,
It's.
if you're
I
listening.
mean, the list of people who were willing to let these boys just rot, like you said. The
Yeah.
list of grown-ups who knew when I started reading like the actual evidence. I read the whole. Ava sent
Oh,
me
you got access to
it,
all the criminal reports?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Wow.
Ava. She
Did
got
you meet the
access to
real mother?
everything. I didn't meet her. I spoke to her on the phone, and then she
Okay. Well,
passed away.
that's
She
the
passed
same
away right
thing.
before we released it. Actually, she passed away in
Oh.
2019. I know she had pancreatic cancer.
Oof.
But she was lovely. I got to speak to her on the phone, and just when I read all the hey, I'm sorry, hold on one second.
No.
When I read this 800 page court document, you know, that went through all the boys and their family members and everybody who gave testimony, it was like I couldn't believe that adults were so okay with putting away young boys,
Yeah.
knowing what they knew. Because there was no way you would have read, if you read what they actually said in court and what all the testimony that the witnesses gave, it was very clear. They didn't have anything to do with it. It was clear. It was very clear. And
rightfully, that prosecutor got like fired from the, like, fuck her, dude. If she's listening,
I
fuck
mean,
yeah.
she's lucky that's all that happened. She should go to jail.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then
she,
you think of, remember, she was allowed, so that happened. And like you said, the boys weren't found innocent until 2014.
yeah.
So she was allowed to rule on many young men and women over the years.
Yeah.
So the Central Park Five they're just the tip of the iceberg for what this woman probably did over her career.
Yeah.
She should be in jail. But the boys are not the boys. They're not even boys. They're grown men. But
well,
I'm like mama. I'm like mama. I think of them as my boys, even though we're like the same age. They are the most lovely, forgiving.
You met all of them?
I've met them all.
Wow.
They were around on set, and then they came to the Emmys with us, and
they were
Ava's date. They were Ava's date to the Emmys.
No,
they were around. They were.
How did that feel for you, Marsha Stephanie Blake, getting nominated? Was that just like?
It was like, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those things because it's like a show I watch. I watch award shows with my friends and sat around and like judged everybody and judged performances and laughed at speeches and cried and blah 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 blah. And so it was completely surreal, completely unexpected, but also that whole year was like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd had Luce at Sundance.
Let's talk about Luce.
Talk about Luce, yeah.
Like, to surrender and commit yourself to that, like, your performance. I mean, I was crying at Tribeca. I mean, did when you got that project, did you just have immense trust in that director? Because to commit yourself to that level that the character does, it requires, you have to really trust the vision.
Absolutely. I had, again, this is where like the theater always comes in handy. I had done Othello with David Oyelowo.
Oh, with Rachel?
With Rachel, yeah.
I saw that. Oh my God. Oh my God!
There was only one Black woman in that, Ryan.
I think the problem with that production is, and I'm just gonna say it brutally, is like I was so tracked in the iambic. I mean, like I hadn't read it in so long, in real time. I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then, of course, like I'm just looking at James Bond do a monologue to my dad.
Right,
you know?
Right. Yeah, there was that James Bond thing. Right. But no, I was his wife. I played his wife.
Yeah.
But I done the play with David, and David had worked with Julius, who directed Luce. And so I called David when I saw the part and I saw what it required and the vulnerability that it required. And I called David, and I was
Octavia
like, David,
already?
Nope.
Wow.
I didn't know anyone involved except for I knew David had done something with Julius. And Julius had seen Othello. That's why he called me in. He had seen Othello, and he was like, I think this woman can handle it.
It was one of the best productions I've ever seen of Othello.
It was pretty special. I mean, I ended up,
I saw Philip Seymour Hoffman do a really bad one, so trust me. Yeah.
And he can't be bad, what? Or he couldn't be bad.
Well, they tried to do this multimedia. It just did not work at all.
Yeah, sometimes you can't put too much on it. Yeah. On any Shakespeare play, then you lose like meaning.
Yeah. But was that a great experience doing Othello?
It was. Oh my gosh! Especially if you remember, it's this tiny theater,
like 50 people maybe could come.
200, I think.
Okay.
200.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't hide. There's no hiding, and just the way Sam Gold directed it, it's so like, listen, we're not gonna paint anything too much because we have this iambic, right?
Yeah.
So we're not gonna fill it with all this flowery stuff. We're really just gonna like speak the speech plainly, as they say in Hamlet. And just that we were all there pretty much the whole time. So again, you're learning from watching other people, right? You're learning, you're all in. Very rarely would they rehearse scenes in isolation. We were almost all there. And that's how I got to know Rachel that well. And that's how I felt comfortable calling David and saying, can you tell me everything about Julius?
Yeah.
Because we'd all developed like real friendships because we were in this tiny space for months. And it's one of those experiences you were talking about, the people who come to see stuff. I mean, everybody came to see.
Yeah, I was there the night Lin-Manuel. He sat next to me.
We called ourselves, matter of fact, we called ourselves Baby Hamilton because that was the other play that no one could get a ticket to.
Yeah,
the other play.
I remember.
In fact, Leslie Odom couldn't get a ticket to see our play, and we thought it was so hilarious.
I remember when I told Rachel I was coming, she was like, "How did you get tickets?"
Did you get? Yes.
And I just was on New York Theater Workshop, and there was 2 available, and I bought them. And then,
I mean, I don't even know how that happened because no one. I have so many friends who didn't actually end up seeing it because
I saw it was on what's it called what's the StubHub for like $2,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We were Baby Hamilton.
Is that what brought you, like, your relationship that you developed with Rachel? Is that how
Rachel,
I'm Your Woman came your way?
Yeah.
Wow.
We did Othello together. We played women in crisis.
Yes. Very much so.
With husbands who were sketchy as hell.
Yeah.
You know,
and Iago doesn't help at all.
Oh no, both of us, both our husbands,
Yeah.
Iago and Othello, sketchy as hell. And my child is trying to be in my video. Go away, child. And we got to know each other. I sat this far away from Rachel in the dressing room because our dressing room was just backstage at New York Theater Workshop, tiny, teeny tiny. All 13 of us in one dressing room,
Wow.
with just a curtain between the men and the women. So I could reach this way and touch David, and I could reach the same way and touch Rachel. Right? And so, yeah, we talked about everything. She had just started Maisel, so she was very nervous about the lead in the show. And I think when we started Othello, she didn't even know if Maisel was a go. So it was early on. And
we were talking about it because I walked home with her after.
Yeah.
And I remember that conversation had happened there. But that's
she wasn't sure it was going to be a thing. Like, they had shot the pilot.
And speaking of exposing herself, she was nervous about that, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I actually spoke to Rachel also, because I remember when I'd done the call back and I was kind of like, I think I'm going to get this part, but I have to do this thing. And at this point I knew that Rachel had, buried herself in Maisel. And I remember calling her, and then we went somewhere. We were in the city. I remember walking all the way from like 42nd all the way to Union Square.
Oh, wow.
So in this conversation, I know it was like a nice day, and we walked all the way downtown. And in this conversation, we talked about this role that I probably was going to do and how to handle it and what I needed. And she's really great about sharing anything. I mean, Rachel is so generous. Like, she's
been great to me. Every time I've done a theater in a black box, she comes. You know what I mean?
No, she's like the most supportive. She came to she's like come to my openings too, and she's like just amazing. Well.
We love you, Rachel.
Well-raised child.
Yeah,
I love her, and she's also so much more mature. You don't expect that kind of maturity from someone her age, but she's incredibly mature, or at least I don't.
We're the same age.
I wasn't that mature when I was her age. I'm just saying, based on me, I was not that mature when I was her age. But she's incredibly mature. She's incredibly generous. And just when she likes your work, she remembers. And lucky for me, she remembered. And we had a great relationship. And she pitched me for this thing unbeknownst to me. And she kept kind of mentioning it. And it would always come up. We would be like going to see a Broadway play together or something. This is after Othello. And she'd say, I pitched you for this thing. And I'd be like, okay. But I never thought it would come to fruition. I thought it was real, because in my mind, I was like, I know you're Miss Maisel, but is anyone going to take your word for who the actor should be? I didn't realize at the time,
she got a development deal.
Yeah, I didn't know all the details.
Yeah.
Sort of on purpose, because I also didn't want her to feel like she had to pitch me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't want her to feel like a pressure, like I'm waiting for you to get me in something. I'm like, I'm not, I wasn't. We were hanging out. We were going to see a play together. So when she said it, I kind of brushed it off a couple of times. And then finally I get this script and I was like, oh, it's real. Like, it's actually real. And I got the script and it was like, read for interest. And it was like, it wasn't like we want you to audition or anything. It was like, we want you to read and see if you're interested in doing this. And I was like, wow. Oh my God.
You had an offer. Things are changing.
No, I didn't get an offer yet.
Oh.
They still had to talk to Amazon and the powers that be. But as far as Rachel was concerned, I was the person.
Yeah.
And she was pitching me to the director and to Amazon. And I was like, this bitch got some power. Like, oh shit. And then I spoke to the director, Julia, and I loved her. Just everything about her. I was like, she's just a real person. She's a mom. She's trying to, she's like us. She's trying to make something of this life we've chosen, but we're still
with assassins.
We still kind of don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and we're honest about it, and we're kind of so passionate that we're hoping our passion will bring the work out, that our passion will show in the work, but we're unsure, we're uncertain. Like, she didn't come across, she wasn't like this confident director who I had a meeting with and I was intimidated by. She was like this young mom who was just, I feel like me, and we talked about our kids, And then we talked a little bit about the script, but not much. And we just liked each other.
Wow.
And then so I think she liked me. And so I asked her if we were dating or if we were married. And she said, well, we're still dating because I still have to go to Amazon. I was like, damn it. All right. Well,
Yeah.
all right, we're dating. And also just that she was honest with me. Because I said, after the conversation, we had this wonderful conversation over Skype.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, Julia, let me know now. You know, is this something, because I love this script and I love you. And I already know I love Rachel. So like, are we doing this? Are we dating? Are we married? Like, what's happening?
And for the viewers listening, like, Julia Hart, the director.
Julia Hart.
Yeah.
And she is all heart. And she was like, well, we're dating because I still got to go back to Amazon. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh.
Come on, Bezos.
But I was fine. I was like, listen, I wasn't, no one really knew who I was. And then it was the Emmy nomination, I think, that tips me over.
Amazing. It all came
into the offer territory.
Literally.
Then I had an offer.
It seems like everything in your career, a friend and working hard led to a friend and work. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Marsha Stephanie Blake, this has been one of my all-time favorite conversations. I'm literally, please come back. I could talk to you for hours upon hours. So
I have to. I don't want to talk about self-tapes.
Yes, please come back. But final few questions for you.
Yes.
I know this is a tricky one, but do the best you can. For all the young Marshas out there, wide-eyed, maybe haven't maybe graduated college, want to act, and or gentlemen as well. They're just really struggling.
What would I say to them?
Yeah.
I have many versions of this, but it boils down to one thing. And it really is this. Don't be an asshole.
Oh, I love that.
And that means I just told you from beginning to end how everyone that I've worked with have somehow informed my next job.
Yeah.
Were I an asshole, they would not want to work with me again. Rachel wouldn't have pitched me for her movie. Yeah. David wouldn't have answered the phone when I called him about Luce.
Yeah.
There are any number of people that I can call up now if I'm unsure about something, unsure about a director, unsure about what's happening on a set. There are lots of times where something happens on set and I'm like, whoa, that didn't feel right. But I'm not sure because it never happened before. Let me call someone who knows. Yeah. Pretend like everyone knows more than you do.
Yeah.
Because they probably do.
Yeah.
Don't be a know-it-all. And don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Final question. What's keeping you inspired right now during all this craziness?
Ooh. Well, today it was Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
I got
the Revolution shirt on for a reason today.
You gotta find the things because boy, these last few months get really it is the heartbreak of our industry. It's like nothing is happening. I live in New York and there is no theater in New York. You know how unusual it is to have a whole year and not have.
Well, and also to there be a question mark. We still don't even know when it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to not have gone to see my friends and stuff for months and months and months and months and months, and to not know what's happening with their jobs and their lives, and it's crazy. So I try to find the little, and also this is the year my father passed away. It's just boom, 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 boom.
One thing after another.
So I find as an artist, I know, and this is not to pat ourselves on the back. I think people who think that artists are sort of disposable are ridiculous. I think we're actually the least disposable of all the people. Ask anyone what saved them from going crazy in quarantine, and they'll say Netflix, Amazon, whatever they watch, whatever your Disney Plus, whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
It's like art in its own way is saving this damn pandemic.
Totally.
Okay. It's artists. If we stop working, the world stops moving. We cannot, you can't tell artists to get another job, get a real job. What the fuck are you talking about? I just saved your ass because there's so many movies on Amazon for you to go watch now because I've been working for the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. You have something to do. You have an escape from this terribleness that is happening in so many places everywhere right now.
Yeah.
We provide an escape, entertainment, laughter. You cry about someone else's pain because you're watching a drama. And it takes you away from your own. Like, I am going tomorrow, and I don't leave my house, Ryan. I don't. I'm so scared of anything, germs. I already was a germaphobe, and now I'm just like, well, my kids are remote schooled. We don't really leave the house. But tomorrow, one of actually a high school friend of mine who also is a mom of one of my daughter's friends is an artist. She's a painter and a sculptor. And I'm going to her opening tomorrow. Oh. Because I feel like I have to support things like that because that's the crux of our
humanity.
Our culture, our lives. Like, I am going to support the hell out of any artist I can right now because I think this idea that we are disposable is so wrong.
Yeah.
It's so wrong. So tomorrow I'm going to a gallery opening. That's where I'm going to find my joy tomorrow. Today it was Stacey Abrams. Yeah. Yesterday it was this video of this man counting. Have you seen this video?
I have seen it. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh my God. It is. It's been a heavy week.
It's a little thing. You gotta, it's one day at a time. We're all just out here trying to survive.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, you inspired me today and you gave me hope. And I have so much love and immense respect for you. And let's please do this again very soon.
I would love to.
I got so much love for you.
I'm so glad I got to meet you.
Me too.
And hopefully, when things...
We'll get coffee in person when we can do that again.
We'll get together with Rachel. We'll go have like a real meal and talk about everything.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully we'll work together one day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes. I love you so much, Marsha. Have a great night with your kids.
This has been a real pleasure.
We will do this again soon. In person and in Zoom.
Yay.
All right.
Whenever you're I'm here. Right. Like I said, don't leave the house. I'm always here.
Hey, me too. I love you. All right.
I love you too, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am thrilled to announce that An Actor Despairs is partnering with a wonderful CBD company called Kind Farms. Everyone out there has heard of CBD. I started taking it a few years ago when I first started getting sober and to help with my anxiety. Sadly, as one can do, I was overtraining in the gym, and a friend recommended a topical and a tincture to help with the pain. I tried it. It was okay. However, recently, I was introduced to a product that has really changed my life. Not only has it helped me with anxiety, but I am stronger than I have ever been. I'm able to carry out lifts my body used to prevent me from doing. Kind Farm products have single-handedly changed my life athletically and personally. They utilize 100% local licensed farmers, organic cultivation, and CO2 extraction for superior CBD. Kind Farms is turning CBD to a kind alternative to pharmaceuticals. Let's transform tobacco row into hemp row. If you want to get involved, please reach out. Together, we can make a difference. You can use my code RYAN10 for 10% off. You can find them on Instagram at Kind Farms Inc., all one word. That's KINDPHARMSINC, and their website is kindfarmsinc.com. Once again, my code for 10% off is RYAN10.